Today I'd just like to bring to mind the quality of effort, for you to just shine your own light on that. Something that is very much an individual choice, matter of intention, motivation, and discernment as to what potential there is, what energy there is, what where you can best apply energy, and how that's done. So we can, of course, interpret effort as a kind of something that's quite forced, pressurized, and, if you like, externally driven. School, job, routine, make an effort to get to this particular thing done by, make an effort to rise up to this. So it's kind of it's externally authorized, and something requires you to meet something, and many of these worldly efforts are in terms of making money, making a living, getting places on time, qualities which have their own part to play in our lives, but not really directed towards awakening. So this isn't worldly effort. The effort to refrain from, to keep a good guard against, the effort to incline towards, keep returning to, encouraging, knowing what's skillful, what's unskillful. Through view, through witnessing, through seeing beginnings, endings. Where did that go? Where did that take me? How is this system affected? So it's a wise effort, holistic, and it's about our attitudes, our heart intentions, our heart inclinations, the resources of vitality we have. So it takes all this in, and the particular what that can be applied to. You don't cast stone with a butter knife, but you don't need a hammer to mash potatoes. So if your energy is a butter knife energy, you'd better spread some margarine on bread. Carefully, with mindfulness, and stay with it. That's right effort. And very much appreciated. We all like butter on our bread. But if you've got a heavy bolster chisel, then it's time to carve some stone. And that's also appreciated. Someone who's got skills in particular areas, applying yourself diligently with the right view, good intention, that's appreciated. And so recognizing, really, particularly with Dhamma cultivation for awakening, it's very much the result is what's left in the heart. Of course, the results in the world around us. We get things done, we achieve things, people are satisfied or whatever with their efforts. But the most important thing is the result in your own heart. Is it open, brightened, encouraged, learn something? That was right effort. So it's really gleaning and harvesting quality of things, results of the things you do. You know? And so when we consider effort, really, the baseline is application of citta. You can have striving, exertion, you can effort done with sharp mind, with gentle heart, patient effort, cheerful effort, steady effort. Main thing is application of citta. That's the baseline. You're conscious, you're deliberate, you know what you're doing, you're focused, you're with it. Therefore you can drink in. If you don't apply citta, how can you drink in the results? Because citta is the one, is the quality, the heart quality, from which intention streams, but it also harvests the results. If you don't apply citta, then you're not going to experience results. You know? So it's just going from some idea in your head, you know, or an automatic. Even if you do a lot, you don't get results because your citta wasn't there with it. So it's got to come from the heart. And of course you can use your thinking mind, planning something, organising something, but keep your heart with it. Physical stuff, you can do that, chop logs, cook food, keep your heart with it. So you get the results. And you learn, heart learns. This is where I got clumsy, this is where I was impatient, this is where I kind of drifted off. This is where I wasn't clear about the tools I was using. Bodged it up. An application of citta. So an example I sometimes said is when I went to Ireland the other year, I thought it'd be nice to, they offered me a Vassa retreat. So I thought it'd be nice to offer them something back. So I thought I'd take some sutta quotes and do some calligraphy. So they could put on their shrine room a couple of quotes from suttas. And the quotes, okay, take the pen, take the paper. Right, no, that's not right. So get the light right. No, hands too shaky, straighten the hand. No, nib's not working. That letter was too hasty. I'll just write one sentence. No, I'll just write one word. No, I'll just try and write one letter. I'm still working on it. Just using it to sort of like when, particularly with words, it's so easy to try to get to the end of the sentence before you've actually formed the first letter, the first word, and placed it. Because our minds adopt tracks, and every track has got an end game to it. Yeah. And the end game means we're always dragged or rushing towards the end and not fully poised in where we are. Because the mind doesn't necessarily get it that we are operating in a system that responds. You know, the way our technology, our mental prowess has taken us, we live in a world of dead things. Paper is dead. Yeah. Earth is dead. Wood is dead. It doesn't respond. It's dead. Screens, dead. Agendas, paper doesn't talk back, it's dead. We live in a world of dead. And the only active agent is what we do. But if you actually follow it more fully, clearly, everything responds. The wood will splinter if you hit it too hard with a chisel. Yeah. The paper you'll get a snag if you press too hard on the paper. So even things like this, which are technically dead, they respond in their own way to our efforts. And particularly when we're dealing with things that are alive, like our bodies and our minds and other people, everything will respond in some way or another. It will either freeze, lock, resist, shake, or be receptive. And living in community, this of course is the thing we know very well. We can't just treat people as numbers and statistics. And teaching, that you just can't lecture people into enlightenment. They're responding. Something's getting it. And it's to feel the sense of where the response is encouraging, opening, furthering, and you follow that. You follow that. And in that, your mind is quite silent, but very tuned in. And your heart is steady. And particularly when we come to what we call meditation, which is often sitting still, walking up and down, very limited in the outward presentation. So we come to the fine detail of embodiment. How to hold the body upright so it's not strained, not sluggish. How to extend the spine so energy, the breathing can move fully through it. Now vitality is not compressed or crushed. How to relax the muscles so our vitality is not strained, carrying unnecessary weight. So learning to sit, tuning in to the body. It's not just plunk it down, do your system. And if we look at the whole full presentation, you can see environment is a big part of it. What you sit in. Now, from the ordinary sensory viewpoint, we're just sitting in a room, so what? But that's a mental description. The body doesn't know that. So you want to get the body to feel the firmness, feel the space, feel the openness. So this occurs when you turn down the thinking mind with its assumptions and its standardization. So here we are again, this time of day, another day, an hour of this, then an hour of that, and then this, and then that, and then this, and then that, an hour of this, and an hour of that, and that. What the mind has created, which of course we use, but you've got the frame. You don't need to keep, and you dwell within the frame into the actual reality. And no sitting is the same as the next. Every one you have to apply what's happening, base the spine, middle of the spine, between the shoulders, neck, head. Just gently setting it up. And the environment. Space around, conscious, aware of the space around the body. Between the arm and the chest, under the chin, or in the back. Not because there's anything to feel there, but what it's doing is encouraging the body to wake up. called the extraceptive sense. It means the body has whiskers, if you like, it kind of senses. And what it's sensing is nothing special, but that's good. It's sensing firmness, it's sensing space. And those carry very important messages. It means you're grounded, you're right here, there's no pressure. And then that message, that signal, transmits into the heart. Environmental. And of course, in the fullness of Dhamma practice, we sit in a place we've made sacred. And that could be a Dhamma hall, could be your kuti, it could be an area of your room, it could be an alcove that you've got something in that says, oh, this is the time. Put aside worldly attitudes, tune into the present, lift the heart. As we were chanting this morning, the environment is not just physical, sensual, it's also psychological. Sevana chabala nam panditanam cha sevana, to associate with the wise, not associate with the fools. This is a general reminder, it means you pick up. And then when you're sitting, you bring to mind the wise. Examples of the wise, the benevolent, and the heart. Oh yes. To abide in suitable places. Suitable places, a place where one can enter into that sense of sacredness, value. And of course in early Buddhism, this is the root of a tree. It's not an ornate temple. And so we see in the Panasati Sutta, one goes to the root of a tree, sets the spine erect, brings mindfulness to the fore, acknowledges breathing in, breathing out is happening. So we're not doing it, we're using effort to apply our citta to certain presences that we can receive. The presence of earth, the presence of shelter, tree, rooted, shade, safe. And interoceptive sense, without this body is already alive, breathing. Can I listen to it? Can I support that? Can I adjust or open to that? Maybe not. Maybe things are too agitated or congested, so I stand up, walk up and down. I recollect. I give consideration to how my citta will be calmed, steadied, encouraged. One knows the time to exert the citta, one knows the time to steady the citta, one knows the time to gladden the citta, and one knows the time to rest the citta. And you keep it. All that means you're applying. It's quite subtle, and yet, we're dealing with a living system. It will respond. Okay? The right tuned-in effort, the system will gradually turn towards that. It will straighten, it will brighten, it will steady. So, though one of the word meditation itself actually comes from a Latin word meaning to repeat. Repeat it, and you do it again then you bring it again and again and again. And that's kind of true, except there's that sense of persistence, absolutely, and yet there is no again, because the next moment things have changed. When you're living in the ocean, the waves are changing. There's no same old wave. There's no same old breath. The mind conceives it as such, but actually if you tune into the subtle shift of vitalities, the extensions, they're always slightly shifting. But, and if you handle it that way, shifting, changing forms, but there's innate brightness within that. That's the gold. And you learn something. You learn about, as I've so often learned, a year or two of doing calligraphy, greater humility is needed. Greater receptivity is needed. More careful way of holding is needed. Less end game, less goal seeking is needed. Stay with it. Yeah. And something will learn. It will learn. And the learning of the heart occurs of the heart, and then the mind gets it. So we first will learn directly, this is what feels steady and right, and then the mind, that's that. And as we recognise, so often when insights arise, the moment of insight is not a thought, it's an opening or a realisation or a shift or a change of some kind. And and then, that's that. One gets the mental acknowledgement of it, which is good because you've learned something. But as you probably have recognised, last year's insights, they're stale. They're kind of fundamentally true, and yet you've got to use them purely as a guideline, because every awakening is always fresh. Yes, it's bread, but it's fresh bread. It's not 2023 sliced bread. So you know the mixes, you know how to make it, and you can make it again, fresh. So it's that kind of immediacy to it. You're never in the same river twice. I remember I was in when I was in New Zealand in 2015, Ajahn Sucitto said, would you like to go on a canoe trip? Like, instead of carrying a pack on your back too long, we can go on a canoe too long. Ajahn Sucitto is a man of great adventure and resources. So I thought, okay, go on a canoe trip. So it was going to be 12 days canoeing down this Whanganui River. So you have to have some laymen come along, they have to take food. It's a wilderness. There's a few designated campsites where you climb out of the river valley and you get a little bit of quarter of an acre of flat land where you can pitch a tent. Otherwise, most of it's just wilderness through mountains. So we could take some laymen with us, so we had big barrels, cook food, cooking equipment, tents, clothes, stuff. 3 canoes. So we go down this river. Of course, I think I've been in a canoe twice before. So we go to this place and we turn up, and the guide, so he's only been in the canoe. He said, I've been in the canoe 1.5 times. What he meant by that, I don't really know. I looked at him and thought, this is going to be interesting. This is the instructor. It looks like it's going to be learn it as you go along. So, well, the main thing you've got to recognise is when you see in a river, you see a V sign. When the water is forming a V, if it's pointing towards you, that's a snag. It means under that water there's trees, fallen trees, and the branches are sticking up. So the water creates this snag. So the V is pointing towards you. Make sure you stay away from that. If you hit the snag, and it comes out with some grisly story of people who got trapped, stuck in a tree, drowning. Stay out of those. If the V is pointing away from you, that's rapids. Then you head for the centre of the V. You go into the rapid down the centre of the V as the water's pulling away. So this river, it's about 240 kilometres, 230 rapids in it. Because it's, as you see, the river is going through mountains, so it's got kind of stones, rocks, different. So the bed is extremely uneven. So all kinds of rocks create these cross currents and swirls and ripples and vortexes. And once you get in it, you realise the river is alive. It's actually been designated as a living creature, because the Maori considered this to be alive. And it feels like it, because when you get in it, the water grabs the boat and it starts to push the boat. Okay, and you've got to steer it, because what the water river wants to do is to turn the boat broadside. So instead of facing down the stream, you go across it, and then it jumps in the boat with you, and your boat goes under, and you go out. This is what the river wants to do. It's full of nagas who are very playful and powerful. So of course we all went in the river, and you see you've got vests on, but you're floating downstream, hanging onto a rope somewhere, and you watch your kit drifting down the river, trying to drag it out later. But it's really interesting, because you can think, first of all, you feel dismayed at the idea of 230 kilometres. Sounds a lot. But actually it's one stroke at a time. You row down this river. And the river is alive. So you've got to row with it, you've also got to row against it. You've got to know how to work with the currents and how to not get captured by the currents. And these rapids. And when you get in a rapid, you really feel this creature has taken hold of the boat. And you're suddenly in this thing. There's nagas around you, churning on either side of the boat, and they're sweeping the thing along, and you're sitting in this thing, trying to steer it. Because in the middle of this torrent of churning water, there is a central stream that you can follow. You can't see it, you can only sense it with your body. And you aim to try to stay in that stream away from the churning. The churning is grabbing the boat. And so that's both a matter of careful steering, holding them, or against the flow of the current, so the boat is slightly tilted. Sometimes I remember getting up, standing in this canoe, in the prow of the canoe with the boat heaving up out of water, just lunging into the water to drag the boat along, through this churn. And at a certain time, suddenly the boat flips, broadside, and then you're out. And you hope somebody throws you a rope, or, and then it's not often, the river's not that deep. 230 rapids. So one learnt a lot about rowing, about right effort. And about, at the end of the day you could plan where you go the next day, morning you could plan where you might get for the afternoon, where you can stop for the meal. You do your planning. When you get in the river, you don't plan. You feel, you sense, you work, and you get it wrong, and you fall out, and you go back in again. And that's pretty much like life. living systems are like that. And when we, perhaps the finest living system to stay within is the breathing. But still, even that, you can't just coast. You can't just go automatic, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you've got to recognise sometimes your breath doesn't have the vitality in it. It's got disconnected. Because, and this is the conundrum, I think, of urbanised life. We've so lost touch, we've so hooked ourselves onto abstractions that our bodily senses have shut down. The interoceptive sense, proprioceptive sense, they're so shut down because we never use them. So we limit our intelligence to our thoughts. We've only, we've limited, which are extremely powerful, but not always wholesome and not always appropriate, and not always deeply listening and attentive and skillful. This is what you have to learn, and learn to quieten the mind, wake the body. But with breathing, it's safe, and stay with it. Explore the completeness of it, where the breathing begins, right down the pit of the abdomen. And now the breathing itself extends the body, swells the body, how the body knows how to flex open the chest without doing anything, how the breath will rise through the throat. And as you get into acknowledging body as a field of energies rather than as a single inert mass, you do that mental reframing, you're much more capable of discerning the fullness of the life-living body that you're in. And if you listen to it, it will begin to respond. It'll begin to open and steady. And then you're finding effort that's appropriate, because it's effort that's appropriate to what you're applying yourself to, a living, sensitive system, and to your aim, which is to awaken, to calm, to steady, to purify. And body doesn't need as much purification as the heart and mind. So something can be realized, how if we have a healthy, sustainable, embodied energy, it has an effect on nervous system, heart, feel safe, comfortable, thinking mind listens, calms down. And it takes the effort to sustain that, stay with it, and also to listen in and begin adjusting. As it said in the sutta, on adjust from just acknowledging there is such a phenomenon. What is it? What actually is this experience of breathing, the fullness of that? And then sustaining through the entire duration of it, and how the breath becomes quieter, shorter, how the energy suffuses to the body. And then when it's suffusing the body, your effort is to keep opening and widening and steadying the heart to receive that. It's not to push it forward, it's to open it up, stay with it. It takes effort to stay attentive. It takes effort. Application. Get interested. And you get interested as you receive the results of your energies becoming brighter, steadier. And then of course we meet the obstacles, because when you open up the fibres of being, give up the idea of being a historical person and recognize right now you're an amalgam of memory, attitudes, accidents, good results, bad results, things that have happened to you, and all that's going to be opened up, and all of that is alive. The past isn't past. The past is that which has not been completed, not been resolved, not been finished. If it's heavy past, if it's beautiful past, the past is that which delights us and we feel grateful for. But the past is never past, otherwise we wouldn't know it. So some of this is pretty grisly stuff, or foggy stuff. If the past is just being disembodied, like watching 15 video games every day. One of the monks was telling me that's what he did. Didn't even know the geography of his own country. Didn't know what it was. Didn't realise what it was. They're all the time video games. If you're doing that, there's not to be moralising. It's just these things have effects. Disembodiment has an effect. And absorbing fast-moving, sappy energies has an effect. Your mind and your system gets entrained to those patterns. We are track creatures, sankhara. Whether the sankhara is yours or another's. So the Buddha says you're either a skillful citta sankhara that's generated by your own actions or by the actions of others. So we get entrained to certain compulsive, unawakened psychologies and attitudes. So we're not doing blame here. Blame is a useless piece of reactivity. We're just doing sober assessment. This is what you're working with. This is, you're in a very rocky river. Best thing is to stay steady. Or get out and walk. But don't just drift. Because if you drift, if you're not applying effort, if you're not applying your citta, something will apply it for you. It will be something obsessive, compulsive, that will grab, just like the river grabs you. So we make that sense of judicious application. And with a strong intellect, probably needs to feel the sensations in their feet, in their fingers, and their toes, move around. If you've got a very lively mind, move it around. It's not going to sit down in one go. Move it around. Move it around a wholesome territory. Move it around recollection. Move it around qualities that are endearing. Move it around virtues that you feel strong about. Move around parts of your body that you haven't really felt. Your back, between your shoulder blades, fingertips, the posture. Move it around. So stillness arrives rather late. Calm arrives rather late. But there can be a heart calm, which is a calm of resolve. This is what I'm with, work with this. So it's a judicious acknowledgement of the tool you're handling and the material you're applying it to. Both have to be borne in mind, with no end game, no end plot. If we practice correctly, there will be results. This is the law of karma, of right view. If you apply yourself with proper intention, with measured intention, with an intention and attitude that works, you will get results that are fortunate, gladdening, and furthering. So that faith, to return again to that. Then when one does enter a flow, things are flowing on nicely, just like how you adjust the tiller, adjust the orientation. Now's the time to open and enjoy. Now's the time to inquire. What's this consist of? What's in this? So we always see the varieties of effort that we can apply, and we have the wisdom to know time, place, situation, what we're with, and how to work with it. So let's take some time for direct practice and cast your light on the quality of effort.